Welcome to VHS Watch Party with Uncle, live on Sunday from the Uncle Studio in Riverside, California. Uncle, we're here again. How you feeling now?
Time to get started on a tape.
We're going to watch a tape today. We're going to watch another VHS tape that we found from the thrift store. It's going to be a lot of fun. We also, some people know we're also running a live stream on TikTok right now. And I see that there's someone just joined that. We've been going live with that for a while. I might shut off the TikTok stream though. Now we're live on YouTube.
Well, if it has to go,
Uncle, you gotta get back to this. Just
let's get moving. I'm sitting here waiting.
okay.
Where's that man who started?
The band that you started? Yeah, what? Okay, where's the Yeah, what you did, that was you showed these to our TikTok. Now we're live with our so we have to show everybody.
This one here.
The Elves and the Shoemakers, an old animated piece. You can watch this. This is a tight We're leaning into this. This is an hour tape about This is a piece of film history, very controversial film. It's the first major team building. Okay, what, Uncle, what would you do? Oh, Electric Daz, what's up, man? Good evening. UK friendly time. It's 6:20 p.m. here. Oh, yeah, it's perfect. Music is loud, voice, audio is super quiet. All right. Let's get into Oh, God.
What a...
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, oh, Lord. I had that off the whole time. Okay, we're here. Hello.
What you mean?
Oh, God. Anyway. Sorry. Okay. Music is off. Yeah. It's a knob situation. Hello, Daz. Thank you very much for that. You really helped us out. Our audio's on. I'm doing a lot of things at the same time. We were saying before that we were just on TikTok. Uncle's TikTok.
Yeah, mine.
We were doing a live stream there and letting people know that we're going to go live here. And that was a fun time.
Yeah.
But now we're on the VHS watch party. Let me see here. Oh, let me pull up the... There we go. This is our graphic, right?
Oh, yeah, it is. There it is.
There it is. That's our graphic for the show.
That's what I was looking for.
And thank you, Daz, for being here. Daz is saying it's a good time where he's at. It's like 6:30 in the evening, so it's good. So, yeah. You said the tape that you wanted to watch, Uncle, was the Seven Wonders of the Ancient World?
That one.
This one right here? So I think that's what we're going to go with. Let me show
I don't
everybody.
long.
Yeah, we'll just get into this. And This is the tape we're going to watch today. 7 Wonders of the Ancient World. Okay, so it's a VHS tape that we got this from the thrift store. It's going to be an hour long. 7 marvelous wonders of the ancient world and the people responsible for them. Let me make sure the VCR is set up too. I'm going to take this down so I have space to use the VCR. That was our Tic Tac setup. Okay, let's see if this VCR works.
Good.
It looks like our tape is rewound, I think. It looks like it is. Okay, cool. That looks like it's working.
It's playing now.
We got it playing. Okay.
Though frail and finite.
Okay, so that is working. But let me make sure, actually, VCR, hold on.
What's wrong with it now?
Let me just make sure that the size of it is, I think the size is what we want. VHS watch party. I might have to change it on this graphic, though. Okay, so we're just going to start this tape, the 7 Wonders of the Ancient World, here in a moment. It's still rewinding.
That was only a few minutes.
Yep. Let's see. There we go. Oh, I can tell I'm going to have to change that. Hold on. Let me switch that over. We're gonna start this. 7 Wonders of the Ancient World. Let's enjoy this, everybody. Here we go.
Be quiet in this movie.
Yeah, here it comes. Oops, my bad. Something like that. I might have to change that. Oh man. Okay, hold on. Hold on.
What is this stretching line?
Yeah, hold on. I'll fix it.
He had conquered the world, from Mount Olympus to the Himalayas. Yet they had astounded Alexander the Great. 2 tombs, a roof garden, 2 colossal statues, a temple, and a lighthouse. To Alexander, despite his raft of victories, they were the wonders of the world, of his world, the ancient world. Without our technology, our tools, and in some cases even without use of the wheel.
Alexander the Great, Uncle, you liking this? This is history, real history.
Architecture and engineering that centuries after all but one have perished, they still stagger the imagination. The gods of the Nile, the Fertile Crescent, Olympus, had graced that sparsely populated world with natural wonders of breathtaking beauty.
Behold, you unworthy mortals, the wonders of this earth.
Though frail and finite, the mortals answered with wonders of their own.
These are ours.
The work of our brains and our blistered hands.
Our daring.
Our creative fires.
Creative fires, Uncle. What do you think about that? It's getting esoteric over here. Not bad.
2,000
We're into
years
it now.
ago, Philo of Byzantium compiled this list of marvels of the ancient world. There are 7 entries, but why were those wonders fixed at 7? To the ancients, 7 was a sacred number. To them, there were 7 planets in our solar system. There are 400 references to 7 in the Bible. A Jewish ritual candle holder, a menorah, has 7 branches. In the Kabbalah and in the Muslim systems,
Septenary,
God and
the
his
septenary.
angels dwell in the farthest of the spheres, the 7th heaven. And the world held 7 wonders, 7 thrusts into the divine by the ancients, which became so mired in legend and frilled with fancy that until the last century, we weren't certain that all 7 had actually existed. We know now that in fact all had stood. Egypt's Great Pyramid, Babylon's legendary Hanging Gardens, the statue of Zeus at Olympus.
Zeus.
In Ephesus,
I know
the
that.
temple of Artemis.
Oh, Artemis.
At
I've been there.
Halicarnassus, the tomb of Mausoleus, the fabled Colossus of Rhodes. And at Alexandria, the world's most famous lighthouse.
Lighthouse.
Discovering them anew is an odyssey that the great Alexander himself might have embarked upon. Of looking into the ravages of natural disasters and of man's vandalism. Of seeking in alluvial mud and the rubble of ruins the glories that had once towered overhead. And the treasure of stories that surrounds them, to envision them with the eye of knowledge, for all but one have been destroyed. That one, the wonder which has stood through 50 centuries of killing sun and storms of the Sahara, before which Alexander stood in awe.
It's the only one that's still there.
The
Pyramid.
Great Pyramid of
There it
Egypt.
is.
Yes, Egypt of Egypt. I know. I had a story of that.
You like this wonder,
In
the
seeking this
the
first
pyramids?
wonder,
I've
one
had
must
the-
venture
I had
to
a
the
story
southern
of this
rim
one
the
he's talking
Mediterranean
about.
world.
Giza.
To the pharaonic kingdom of Egypt, and brave a danger more terrifying than any which confronted Ulysses on his perilous odyssey. Cairo traffic and Cairo energy charging from this urban gateway to Egypt. Its myriad minarets bristling in the shadows of skyscrapers. A colossal market town where Africa, Asia, and Europe meet, talking, mingling, bargaining, jostling, hustling, and hawking. The river that runs through this city is its heart, its lungs, its lease on life, the Nile, from whose overflow sprang civilization as we know it. The deepest, most ancient cultural mud from which we grew, the Egypt of the pharaohs. The seeker braves the desert, the torrid sun, the blasts of wind-whipped sand, and suddenly, on the horizon, they appear as distant mountain peaks. With swelling emotion, the seeker draws closer and then stands overpowered, almost stupefied. The only remaining wonder of the ancient world stands in awe as the ancient Greek Herodotus stood in awe some 2,500 years ago, as Julius Caesar stood here in awe, as Napoleon stood in awe. These pyramids have been called the Mountains of Pharaoh and the Granaries of Joseph. Stargazers have called them the world's oldest astronomical observatories.
How's the? Are we coming through when I do this with the audio, Daz? Does this work? Do we sound? Does our audio sound correct? Let me see. It looks like it should. It looks like my microphone's working correctly. What you got, Uncle? What do you
Hello, hello.
Tell us if that's good. I'm gonna turn the audio of the video back up.
Exactly the 4 points of the compass. Built of 2 1/3 million limestone blocks weighing up to 2.5 tons apiece. Its base covers 13 acres, and it rises to the height of a 42-story skyscraper. It took 100,000 workmen 30 years to finish the job. It took 10 years just to build the ramp up which the stones were moved into position. Laborers worked on the pyramids just 3 months of each year when the Nile's flooding brought farming to a standstill. Tools, the everyday tools of construction workers in pharaonic Egypt. Though 4,000 years old, they're still usable. In the slopes of Mogatum, one can see where the stones were quarried and then transported on sledges. Some of these sledges have been preserved, even the ropes they were pulled with. These sledges were sufficiently sturdy to haul a monument. This drawing is based on old Egyptian descriptions of how the stone blocks were raised. Contemplating these 3 greatest of the pyramids, Cheops, Khephren, and Mycerinus, Napoleon calculated
There are stones in these 3 pyramids sufficient to build.
Okay, when I do this, we should be loud. You can't, we're not loud. Like our audio is very low when I do this. Still, this should be good. I don't understand because I turned the audio of the video down and then our audio's up. This is still bad, Daz? So it looks like the bars are high. I don't understand why it would still be low like this.
Might have to get it.
Should be good. I'm going to turn the video, but the video is about to go way back up, and we'll be down when I do this.
Was the journey
Now we
into
should be
death.
low. You shouldn't be able to hear us.
To enjoy an afterlife, two conditions, rigid and unchanging, need be met. The body must be intact, hence mummification. Secondly, the spiritual double of the deceased, called Ka, must be provided. In the sarcophagus, with the accoutrements of the living, food, furniture, stately objects.
Should be okay.
Cheops was hungry for immortality.
Well, the audio of the video is usually way higher, but I just moved the slider down, and the audio of the video should be low now. And our audio should be higher than actually the video. You shouldn't even really be able to hear it at this point. Now it's going to be faded up. It's going to start getting louder than
in
us.
search of treasures
Now
inside.
it definitely is louder than us.
The air is
But now it's down. I don't know.
steep that visitors must nearly double over as they crouch their way upwards to the burial chamber. And there's always the danger of being
Audio's
locked
good.
in.
Okay, cool.
It has happened. At last, the pharaoh's final resting place, a stone sarcophagus set into the floor of a chamber built of pink Aswan granite.
Ooh.
The tomb is empty, the chamber stripped. Almost as imposing as Cheops is the pyramid of the pharaoh Khephren. At one time, these pyramids were completely faced with polished limestone that sparkled like glass. Some of this limestone casing still glistens at the top of Khephrens. For centuries now, local guides and hawkers have been hounding visitors with information and artifacts. They're inescapable. In the 1880s, one pesky guide pursued Mark Twain so persistently that Twain offered him $100 if he'd jump off the pyramid head first.
Now that.
Facing the east of the new day's sun, this
What a joker that Mark Twain
body,
was.
that of a noble lion, its face that of a royal human, the Sphinx. Romans dubbed it the god of death, Arabs a father of fear. If its purpose was to frighten
The Sphinx, Uncle, you know that thing? The lion with a human head? Riddled the Sphinx?
Though the pyramids were the best guarded tombs of all time, robbers with greater regard for the blessings of here and now than for those of the afterlife did succeed in breaking the seals and stripping the sepulchres of their riches, mummies and all. Tomb robbing went on for centuries, down to our own era. And some of the most blatant robbers were those who rifled the tombs for museums in Europe and America.
Ooh.
In 1922, Howard Carter, an Englishman, and his patron Lord Carnarvon, broke through a sealed door to discover untouched, never before violated, the tomb of Tutankhamun.
Ah, I know that guy.
With all its treasure intact, perhaps the most
Talking about King Tut is what that is, Uncle.
of all time. Some are convinced that a curse hung over that tomb. Within 7 years, a dozen people connected with the find.
We're talking about the curse now,
The
Uncle.
curse is back.
We're getting into the good stuff here.
The curse is back. Watch it, people.
Is it real?
Carnarvon was scratching a mosquito bite on his left cheek. Blood poisoning set in. Shortly thereafter, he died of infection in a Cairo hotel nearly 2 hours past midnight. Unaccountably, all the city lights went out. Doctors who examined Tutankhamun's mummy discovered a scab-like mark on the left cheek, on the spot corresponding to where Lord Carnarvon had been fatally bitten by the mosquito.
You following all this, Uncle?
Mm-hmm.
The curse of King Tut, the curse of the mummy, could be real.
In gazing at the water-trapping devices in the blazing brick kilns of Iraq, we try to envision those legendary gardens as Alexander had seen them. In verdant bloom.
You know these ones, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, Uncle? You ever heard of this one?
I've heard of it.
We gotta learn all about it now.
Was located somewhere in Asia Minor's Fertile Crescent, the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, which the Greeks called Mesopotamia. To us, it's Iraq.
ancient world. Yeah. Cradle of civilization, Uncle.
Ancient world.
Crazy.
The Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Babylon itself was so stupendous a city, it could rightly have been chosen one of the wonders of the ancient world.
I can see that.
O opulent city standing beside the waters,
Exclaimed the prophet Jeremiah.
Opulence.
In the millennium before Christ, it spread over 2,500 acres of a large plain, the river Euphrates winding through its downtown, prestigious and pleasure-loving, a city-state of millions, the largest in the world.
Babylon hath been a golden cup that made all the earth drunken.
To partake fully of its splendor, one need parade down the processional way of Marduk and enter through this most magnificent of the city's 8 gates, dedicated to Ishtar, goddess of carnal love, as Nebuchadnezzar did, and King Darius, and Alexander the Great, to clashing cymbals and fanfares of trumpets. There was an ancient argument that this processional way should have been named Second Wonder of the World. For all its splendor, Babylon was a brick town. Iraqi brickmakers still turn out bricks as the ancients made them here almost 30 centuries ago. Bricks of clay and water kneaded by hand. They're dried in long rows in the sun. Most of Babylon was built of such bricks, which, of course, have long since disintegrated into dust. But those structures built of bricks fired in kilns have endured down to our day.
Ooh, those are the good bricks, Uncle. That's how you make them.
Nice bricks.
It's all about the process.
Enough bricks to connect the Earth to the Moon, or to wrap the globe with them 15 times at its widest point.
Oof, that's a lot of work.
Here, civilization reaches back over 4,000 years. Sickles and knives, hoes and axes, fish hooks that seem as modern as today's, letters written on clay tablets inserted in clay envelopes.
It's an advanced civilization.
Here, kings and nobles wallowed in a worship of fleshpot gods, of whom their epic of creation sang,
The gods grow drunk with drinking, their bodies are joyful, they shout aloud, their hearts exult.
Babylon's far-reaching fame
Babylon.
permeated the ancient world like a heady perfume, her wanton luxury the envy of harsh and plainer peoples.
The golden helmets of her swains,
The golden bangles that grace the sweetly oiled limbs of her courtesans.
It was in the throne room in the magnificent southern palace that Belshazzar's feast was held, a feast described by Daniel in the Bible as a riotous, profane banquet.
Oh, we're getting biblical, Uncle. A bit of biblical history here.
and it was in Babylon that 3 young Jews, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, were cast into the flames of a fiery furnace for being faithful to the God of Israel. Because of their faith, they were untouched by the raging fire.
It is the land of King Sargon.
You say so.
Several times deported the Israelites to Assyria.
The Israelites are starting to have trouble here, Uncle.
Alexander the Great. It is a land of ziggurats, temple towers of the ancients in the form of a terraced pyramid,
Very cool.
the tie between heaven and earth, an architectural scheme used by the Muslims of Iraq for their minarets.
Jacob's ladder
This is the
looks
site
like
of the
that.
Tower of Babel, which was the ziggurat of Babylon. In this urban marvel, constructed almost entirely of bricks, one stunning creation was built on a stone foundation, on the summit of the citadel.
The Hanging Gardens, a structure of tiers rising one above the other to the height of the city's battlements. The garden's walls, which held the amassed planting soil's great weight, were 22 feet thick. They ascended skyward in rising terraces. Lofty trees 50 feet high and 12 feet in circumference gave cool shade from the desert sun.
devices raised water from the river in great amounts for soaking the soil and refreshing the groves with moisture.
The leafy crowns of the topmost trees caressed the vaulted blue of the sky. A distant spectator of these groves would suppose them to be growing on mountains.
Some historians attribute this remarkable construction to Nebuchadnezzar, because his wife, who came from Media, longed for the scenery of her homeland.
Another tradition insists that they were the pleasure gardens of the legendary Semiramis, a queen of Assyria.
Pomegranate. You see it, Uncle? As a pomegranate was in the hanging garden. That makes sense.
Was in doubt until the discovery by German archaeologist Robert Caldevey of the vaulted building and pumps by which water was scooped out of the Euphrates River. Water was the lifeline. Developers of the ancient world forced these pleasure gardens to bloom in the Mesopotamian desert, the way today's developers use Hoover Dam to foster the blooming of the Las Vegas pleasure palaces on the wastes of Nevada.
It's all about irrigation, Uncle.
It's an irrigation, yes.
You don't get,
I know.
you have to bend nature to your will, right? Isn't that the idea there?
What remains of the second wonder of the world? Fragments of stone and brick,
Moving water.
great trees and luxuriant green are a parching, choking dust. What the desert cannot sustain in nature, it destroys. Indeed, today Babylon is a dust.
The desert, Uncle.
Stinging wind.
Death.
That's your
Dust.
That's your desert
One can
area
hear
that you're
its
talking
moaning.
about a lot.
The words of the Hebrew prophet
Yep.
Jeremiah.
Desert. I believe that's still the Sahara over there, right? Is that part of the Sahara Desert? Or wait, no, we're in Iraq. It's another. I don't know what desert that is. They probably already said, but I can't remember.
See, you're not paying attention.
Enthroned in his temple at Olympia, Zeus, king of the gods, glares down at us puny mortals.
New wonder.
His voice is thunder, his eyes the fires of heaven.
The Hellenic world. A quest for the third of the ancient wonders draws the seeker to an old land, crested by the shadowy mountains of Homer, still wild, and hedged by a welter of islands in their blue and violet seas. Greece. The seeker's Grecian gateway, Athens. For more than 1,000 years, the resounding heartbeat of Western culture, lying in a valley between two peaks, Mount Lecavitos, topped by the gleaming white chapel of St. George, and a rocky citadel called the Acropolis,
There it is.
the white marble temple of Athena, the Parthenon, even in ruins of unparalleled beauty and form.
I like to put these things on tops of hills, Uncle, if you notice.
The apostle preached the new religion of an unknown God. The modern capital is partly on and partly off the site of ancient Athens. Yet tramping over these hills, one breathes the air that sustained Pericles and Sophocles. Noisy, strenuous, energetic, that's the Athens of today. In these respects, it resembles ancient Athens, whose citizens were a scrappy lot, whether haggling over a bargain or arguing a subtle point of philosophy. But one point upon which those ancient Greeks agreed, the sacredness of Olympia. Here stood the shrine of Zeus, king of the pagan gods. And it was here, with a long tradition of athletic contests, particularly chariot racing, that the Olympic Games began.
The original Olympics,
Yes,
Uncle.
I remember this.
Ancient Athens, ancient
Yeah,
Greece.
this is where it started.
That's where they did them.
And his daughter had many suitors.
Warned in a prophecy that he would be killed by his future son-in-law, the king announced that he would give his daughter to the suitor who could beat him in a chariot race. If the suitor lost, death. Well, one suitor after another lost the race and was put to death. Then young Pelops took up the challenge. In their race, the king himself was killed when he crashed his chariot.
Pelops claimed the lovely daughter and the throne.
Some reason that it was those chariot races.
Crazy back then, Uncle, the things they did,
yes,
huh?
I remember these.
High,
Yes, yes.
It's a high stakes race right there.
There was.
Heracles, who got the athletic games going here, in honor of his father Zeus.
His father, Zeus,
175
yeah.
miles
Here it
Know who
comes.
Zeus is, huh?
I know who Zeus is. We're about to see his ancient wonder here.
1,000 feet.
Temple of Zeus, right?
Ancient Greeks, it was the highest mountain in the world, its peak charged with religious awe. This was the home of the gods. And the unquestioned king over this court of divinities was Zeus. Zeus was sovereign, hurler of thunderbolts. His laughter could cause the earth to tremble. With all due respect, he was the old man, of godly nature, yet creaking with human weaknesses, a meddler in mortal affairs, a woman chaser who'd never take no for an answer, even if it meant transforming himself into a swan or a bull, and a maker of alibis to his long-suffering wife, the goddess Hera, who fell into jealous rages.
It's a difficult marriage for those two, wasn't it?
Divine heights of Olympus, it became Zeus's second home and the center of his worship for over 1,000 years. Olympia was a shrine, not a town. Most of its buildings have been built to accommodate pilgrims. Its focal point was a temple, a grand Doric structure, the holy of holies of the cult image of Zeus. Tall as a 3-story house, this was the third wonder of the ancient world.
Looks like we got a few people watching on X right now. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Hope you're enjoying the 7 wonders of the ancient world here.
In his left, a scepter upon which an eagle is perched. His flesh is of ivory, and his robe and sandals are of gold. His throne is studded with precious jewels.
Billy? Oh, that's Billy is on Twitter. That's somebody I follow on Twitter. Actually, I don't think he's watching right now, but if you are, thank you, or anybody who happens to be.
I was looking at that and I was wondering who that was.
Yeah. That's Twitter X down there. Great video. Okay, Daz is enjoying the video. I'm glad you like this, man. Yeah, it's engaging. No doubt about it.
Phidias, who in the 5th century BC created this great image. It's told that when Phidias finished the work, he asked Zeus if it was to his liking. Immediately, a thunderbolt crashed to the temple floor, meaning yes.
His head almost touched the ceiling. If Zeus were to have stood up, he would have gone through the roof.
Ancient Greeks were diverse, argumentative, Athenians, Spartans, always scrapping with each other. It was their devotion to Zeus and to the games held at Olympia that welded them together as one people. To them, Olympia was a composite of St. Peter's, the Rose Bowl, Wimbledon, and Mecca. Wars were halted for the games. Greeks from over the civilized world traveled to Olympia to take part. They numbered the years from the beginning of those games, calculated to be, in our numbering, 776 BC. Zeus is dead. His great image, a wonder of the world, was destroyed in a fire in Constantinople, where it had been moved some 850 years after its creation. But the games that were that testy old god's pleasure live on in the Olympic Games of today.
Still doing them. How about that?
Ancient Greek ideal of developing human beings to their highest level in harmony of mind and body.
Uncle, the Olympics are all about apotheosis. Did you know that?
Just now noticed it.
Isn't that crazy?
Greece and Rome, who determined which of the man-made marvels were chosen as the 7 wonders of the world, knew nothing of the Great Wall of ancient Shumquat.
Yeah, they didn't even know. They didn't even know about that thing.
That wall is big.
It's a big one. Big wall.
That wall was like half the size of a church thing.
Pretty big. Pretty big.
Places such as Persia, now known as Iran, whose invading armada of 1,000 warships was destroyed by the Greek fleet. Zeus of Olympia and the remaining 4 wonders were all outcroppings of the Hellenic world. Babylon of the Hanging Gardens and the Egypt which saw the building of the pyramids were to the ancient
You like what, Uncle?
Babylon and the Red Islands.
Oh, Babylon?
Babylon.
Yeah, the Hanging Gardens
I
thing.
like that because it had the fruit.
Oh, that was your favorite. So far, that's your favorite wonder of the ancient world, is the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Yeah, it's cool. It built a giant garden there.
To make their laws, to run their own affairs. To them, the state existed for its citizens. In all other cultures that they knew of, the citizen existed for the state. He was the toy of tyrants. The democratizing influence of the city-states of the Greek mainland and her Aegean Isles flowed to the Asian coast. And here sprang cities, Greek cities. The seeker may glimpse these urban ruins in the quest for the fourth wonder of the ancient world.
Oh, there's a new one. What we got? Oh, is this, are we in Ephesus?
Ancient Miletus, where the scientist Thales lived, and his pupil Anaximander, first to draw a map of the world. Miletus was a magnet. An oracle here milked secrets from the future and dribbled them into the ears of eager petitioners. Even Croesus, richest king of the ancient world, came begging to this oracle. Smyrna, a name that grocers associate with a variety of fig. Smyrna, one of the oldest cities in Asia Minor, lies in modern Turkey and is now called Izmir. Priene dates from the 4th century BC and was the beneficiary of city planning before being built, a rare thing in the ancient world. For the Greeks, a town was more than public buildings and private dwellings. It was a polis, meaning a community of citizens. Citizens who voted, who worshipped.
Great is Artemis of the Ephesians.
For centuries they thronged here, multitudes from over the Greco-Roman world.
At last our eyes rest upon her temple, the nurturing Artemis of Ephesus.
In time, the seeker questing for the fourth wonder will arrive at the small Turkish town of Seljuk, and a landscape of which Homer wrote.
Swans with long necks are flying left and right, boasting with white wings.
Uncle, my wife and I have been to Ephesus. We were yeah, we went there during our honeymoon. Actually, we did a Mediterranean trip. Yeah, and we went there. It's really
nice.
It was really cool. It's really cool.
And the site of her great temple.
There was nothing here, just a vast denuded plain, when in 1863 British archaeologist John T. Wood began digging for evidence of the temple. After a year's work, he uncovered the Upper Agora, one of the main squares of the town. It went back to the 2nd century BC, but Ephesus was 1,000 years older. He uncovered the evidence of streets, which 2,000 years ago were lined by columns. Evidence of a marble way, a clue to the wealth and
where we were in the blocks on the streets.
I've been there.
That looked like that.
Well,
where we were in.
I've seen this, the
on
library.
The boat, when we went on the delivery boat, one of those countries.
Yeah. I've literally been to this place, Uncle. It's awesome. It's really cool. Yeah, that library facade is still there.
The roads, though, were like brick. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the roads.
It's made out of stone, yeah. And
stone, yeah. We were walking on them.
They still have this amphitheater there, yeah.
King, you who brings a plague upon the children of Cadmus.
It could hold 30,000 spectators. 6 months later, he uncovered writings on columns. In his eagerness, he forged ahead breathlessly, almost blindly. After spending precious time in misreading clues and wrong-way digging, he was at last tremblingly approaching his goal.
The great excitement I felt when making the discovery. I was seized by a high fever, yet I paid no attention to it. I would not stop working.
You're talking about
On the last day of
Uncle.
1869, After having searched for
rediscovering the city. They're digging it up here.
Wood discovered in the alluvial mud the remains of the great temple of Artemis of Ephesus, the fourth wonder of the ancient world.
Did it. They found it.
An Egyptian temple was the house of a god, but a Greek temple was the house of the soul.
This vast, gleaming marble building, its columns 60 feet high, slender and beautifully fluid, resembling the folds of a woman's gown, and the volutes of the Ionic capital suggesting locks of a woman's hair.
At the base of this column is the sculpture of the god Hermes. An inscription says that it was a gift to the temple by King Croesus.
Of this temple, Philo of Byzantium wrote 2,000 years ago,
He who has laid eyes on it once will be convinced that the world of the immortal gods has moved from heaven to earth.
Artemis was complex. A moon goddess of the Amazons, her worship went back to the sacrificial rituals of primitive man. She was the great she-bear, Ursa Major, ruler of the stars.
In European Greece, and later in Rome, where she was called Diana, meaning the goddess Anna, Artemis was known as the twin sister of Apollo, vigorous but virginal, a lover of the chase but chaste, a kind of divine tomboy who gave herself only to the pleasures of hunting.
There's a...
One day Actaeon, a young...
There's a lot going on here. There's some androgyny going on with Artemis, I believe.
Stunned by her beauty. Once aware of him, the goddess was enraged. A mortal had gazed upon her nakedness. She transformed this peeping Tom into a deer and set his own pack of hunting dogs on him. The hounds tore Actaeon to pieces. But in Asian Ephesus, housed in her sacred chamber of this temple, chaste Artemis was a goddess of fertility, a patron of birth and nurture. Her robe covered with the heads of beasts. Her whole torso covered...
That sculpture right there, I believe, is owned by the Vatican now.
Yeah, that's a Vatican.
I think the Vatican has that in their museum.
was partly demolished by the Goths in AD 262. And according to some accounts, a madman finished the job by setting fire to it in 356. His motive was to immortalize his name. It was Herostratus.
Well, I guess his motive worked.
It's told that for centuries after its destruction, people gathered stones from the sacred site and worshipped them.
They burned it, Uncle. Whoops.
In gazing at it, a woman was stirred with the deepest feelings of love, for it was a woman's love that built this gleaming tomb for her husband.
Questing farther, for the fifth wonder, the seeker needs only to travel south from Seljuk, south of Samos along the beaches of the Aegean Sea, to Bodrum in western Turkey. Small, tranquil, conservative, Bodrum is fronted by a harbor, a town of tidy gardens and sun-bleached houses, cooled by sea spray. There's little here to make a traveler scramble for his camera, other than this castle. Over centuries, Europe's crusades had created orders of knights who protected pilgrims on the dangerous routes to the Holy Land. To this end, the Knights of St. John took over Bodrum and refortified this old stronghold, naming it after the Apostle Peter. The old shell, it had been jerry-built over a century earlier, required considerable reinforcing to make it the thick-walled bastion that they needed in their conflicts with the Ottomans. This took stone, a lot of stone. They found it in abundance at an ancient structure here, a veritable quarry of cut architectural stones, some beautifully sculpted. They looted the site. A French observer wrote at the time,
Looking around for stone, the knights found steps of white marble raised in the shape of a platform. They beat them down and dragged them away.
Not only did they dismantle the structure, but they defiled a tomb.
Taking candles, they descended into a cave-like place and found a chamber surrounded by columns.
Cave-like place.
The room led to a tomb with its urn and gabled lid of white marble.
Bodrum had been Halicarnassus. This massive castle was rebuilt and buttressed with stones looted from the mausoleum that had made Halicarnassus famous throughout the ancient world. Today, all that survives on that site is a rectangular cutting in the rock for the foundation, a staircase to the tomb chamber, and debris of broken pillars and architectural stones. It had stood for more than 1,500 years, the fifth wonder of the world.
It was not built from awe or fear of the gods. It was love that built this marvel, a love between a husband and wife.
This was a mammoth structure for ancient times, with a circumference of 440 feet. It consisted of 3 main parts: a lofty podium on a base made of bricks and covered with marble. Above stood a colonnaded temple, its 36 columns supporting a roof in the form of a pyramid. This was crowned by a 4-horse chariot of marble. The whole monument reached a height of 140 feet.
This unusual structure grew from combining architectural forms of different civilizations, including Greek and Egyptian. In the 4th century BC, Mausolus was governor of Halicarnassus, which was then a province of the Persian Empire. He was a political powerhouse and vain.
I'm a handsome brute of a man and mean in a fight.
Artemisia was the wife of Mausolus. She loved her husband so much.
Guy's a real smack talker, Uncle. You hear that?
You
He would have been a good wrestler, a professional wrestler.
I knew that would come up. I knew that would come up from you.
Really,
I mean, the face. Just the face of it.
the hair looks right, too. Yeah. Would have been great in interviews with Mean Gene Okerlund.
Yeah.
Born too early.
Were wrapped in gold-embroidered cloth, placed in a gold box, and set within a sarcophagus of alabaster.
It is told that his wife ground some of his ashes into a fine powder, which she mixed with perfumes and drank. Such was her love.
In Bodrum today, the only architecture that's intact from the time of Mausolus is the theater. It's one of the most...
Another one of those left over, yeah.
As for what's left of the embellishments of the mausoleum, the seeker must travel to the British Museum in London.
This Ionic capital, and this lion, a horse from the chariot sculpture that crowned the summit of the monument, this exquisite frieze depicting the Greeks battling the Amazons.
It's believed that this is the face and figure of Mausolus, and this, Artemisia, made faceless by time. Because of her, her husband's name lives in our language.
As we drew closer, it emerged through the mist rising from the sea.
I think it is. I think we're in Rhodes now.
Of the Isle.
In pursuing the 6th wonder, the seeker again might sail from Bodrum's harbor in western Turkey to the Greek island of Rhodes on the edge of the Aegean Sea. Rhodes is...
I also went there, Uncle. Same trip. My wife and I, we went to Rhodes.
That one too?
Yeah, Colossus isn't there anymore, but the island's really cool. A lot of interesting stuff there, actually.
Who raised her to the surface. He found her so beautiful and wanted her so deeply that Zeus gave her to him. And to this day, the island of Rhodes rests in the embrace of the sun god.
Rhodes' history is a stormy one.
Throughout the centuries, its people have suffered much, endured much. Today, they're deeply loyal to mainland Greece.
As with so many Greek islanders, their lives are in balance with the ebb and flow of the sea.
It's out of the Mediterranean, Uncle. It's a little island.
They grow up healthy on olive oil, wine, which is always taken with food, and for feasts, the flesh of the lamb.
Greek food, Uncle. Mediterranean diet. They mentioned.
I'm getting hungry.
You want some olive oil? You want to drink some olive oil?
Huh?
It's healthy. Oh yeah, I remember that street.
That street?
Isle of the Masters, I think.
This is a fort, a medieval fortress town. Early in the 14th century, those Crusader knights of the
I
Order of
recognize
St.
that Isle of the Masters street for sure. A lot of interesting stuff down that way, even still today.
Saracens. They found refuge here on Rhodes and took up residence in these sturdy stone houses.
Yep.
They seized control of the island, and though there were only 500 of them, they flaunted their power over a population of 100,000 Greeks. Tough and totally dedicated, these knights were at war with the whole world of Islam. Once in 1444, a Turkish sultan attacked the island with a flotilla of 180 warships packed with fighting men. Almost miraculously, these bulldog knights, so grossly outnumbered, managed to sink the entire fleet and rout the army that it carried. But the Turks kept trying. Almost 100 years after their first foray, they managed to land an army of 150,000. It took them 6 long months of bombarding the castle before they flushed out those Crusader knights in 1523. They must have impressed their arch-enemy, Suleiman the Magnificent, for this great sultan offered them safe passage out of the island with a sense of honor, without surrendering formally. The Grand Master of the Order accepted, and the knights sailed to Malta, where the Order has remained.
The Order has remained, Uncle. They're still there.
So how you can do that?
You follow that?
A fort?
All of the buildings were laid out from a center.
Did that?
Temples, public buildings, and residences were spaced to create perfect symmetrical balance when viewed from the harbor. After almost 2.5 millennia, not much of the ancient town is left. The Temple of Apollo is still standing, and considering what it's been through, the stadium is in good shape. Rhodes was well known for its schools of philosophy and rhetoric. Cicero studied here, one of Rome's greatest orators, and Julius Caesar.
Oh, yeah.
But this had been a city that staggered the capitals of the
Heard of that guy?
with its superb sculpture.
There he comes.
Even an out
The Colossus. The Colossus.
sculpture of Laocoon is familiar to most every schoolchild. The most famous sculpture of Rhodes was somewhere out there. We're not sure exactly where. We know less about it than we do about any of the other wonders. The Colossus of Rhodes, 6th wonder of the ancient world. Piecing together descriptions from a number of ancient writers, we get an idea of what it looked like. Yet there's a lot of guesswork, hence contradictions. We're not sure whether his arm was raised in holding a torch, or saluting, or just in shading his eyes.
Why, man, he doth bestride the narrow world like a colossus.
It does look like his eyes, though, because if there was sun, it would be that.
Makes sense. Yeah, it's definitely bright out there. So
Yeah. That's another perfect reason.
If I were a sculptor out there, that's what I would want to do.
Today, archaeologists say that this would have been impossible.
Yeah, to build it like that.
It was a ship's beacon in the form of the sun god Helios, patron deity of Rhodes, standing guard over the city. This was the work of Caris of Lindos and took 12 years to complete.
It was cast in bronze.
Standing on a tall base, it rose to a height
That's
of
second
18
place.
cubits.
Bronze. No, that could be third place.
We're ranking the wonders of the world in order?
Right.
That's what you're doing right now?
Yeah.
Uncle? Because of the bronze, it brings up the...
Bronze, yeah. That's exactly it.
Pretty crazy.
I know, Roger. See? He is looking at the sun. That has to be
He's got
protecting the sun.
He's got the corona up there.
I'd go with the sun. I'd go with the sun with that, what he was looking at.
It's hard to deny the
Kind
sun.
of the sun. Yeah. I wouldn't do the other
side of the bronze cast statue was filled with stones to stabilize it.
Let's see
Piece by piece, higher parts of the body were added to those.
This is how they think they build it. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to ask what they say.
Build a big mound of dirt while they're building it.
The citizenry of its day. It would be well for the seeker to take a fast, albeit long, detour to New York Harbor. There stands the Colossus of our time.
That's
Similar,
the King of Liberty.
similar sculpture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Her torch raised high, lighting the way for all who come to her shores.
That's where that comes from.
We know that one.
Yeah.
She even has the same corona
New
going
York.
Has been the enduring
It's in
first
New York.
sight of America.
I know that.
on. Ellis Island.
Oak Island.
This is our Colossus by the sea, our answer to the ancients. At 152 feet, that's 42 feet taller than the Rhodes Colossus, she stands on Bedloe Island, the work of French sculptor Auguste Bartholdi, and dedicated in 1886 to commemorate the French and American revolutions. And what inspired Monsieur Bartholdi to embark on this project? The Colossus of Rhodes.
That's the inspiration, Uncle. The ancient sculpture. It's not there anymore.
Is it?
Yeah, not well. No. Earthquake, they're saying.
The Colossus cracked at the knees and toppled as massive fragments. It had stood for only a quarter of a century, yet the ancient Roman writer Pliny reported,
Even lying on the ground, it was still a wonder of the world.
an oracle forbade the citizens of Rhodes to raise it again. So it lay for nearly 900 years. Plundering Arabs sold it as scrap to a merchant, who hauled it off to Asia, borne by 900 camels.
Yeah, it's a bunch of big stones. It'd be hard to
That
carry.
must have been big to carry around.
Not easy. A lot of work.
There she is, looking at the star, looking at the sun.
It's bright. It's
That's
bright.
what she's doing. I gotta say, it's gotta be that.
You think so? Yeah.
Yeah, because look, the hand's up there. I mean,
Oh, I think we've been through all of them. Is this the end?
yeah, this is number 7.
No more wonders?
This is number
For
7.
his course to where the quest began,
7.
Egypt.
Oh, wait. We got the
This-
lighthouse. We got the lighthouse in Alexandria.
This is the
Of the
Egypt.
Nile's
This is the
flooding and
last
3
of them.
crops
This
a
is
year
it here.
farming.
This is the last
Not
one.
the
It said 6.
It's a lighthouse. How
White House.
How appropriate.
prized possession of Alexander the Great, the Egypt that was called the granary of Rome.
It was Egypt's beacon for the world, to lost seamen, to storm-tossed ships.
And it shone as a symbol of the city's great library and of its learning.
Light.
Here, on what had been a tiny fishing village, Alexander built the most important city in the Mediterranean world and had it named after himself. It's the nation's second largest city, with a reputation for the best food in Egypt. Though charged with vitality, it's different from Cairo. It was here that Alexander was entombed, and here that Cleopatra committed suicide.
Oh, yes.
It's a city haunted by its
Suicide.
past.
You know about Cleopatra?
Cleopatra, yeah.
Suicide
I
in
didn't know about the
Alexandria.
suicide, but
Interesting.
After the Greeks and Macedonians, Romans ruled. You can see the different strains in the faces here. Greek, Roman. It boasts 2 sheltered harbors on the east and on the west. But the coastline has eroded, and since Alexander's time, a lot of the city has disappeared beneath the waves. The most stupendous disappearing act is that of an island called Pharos that we most want to see, because of the marvel that stood on it.
That's where it
Today, we can no longer see the island, or the ruins of the ancient port that long ago had silted up. Today, we see only an enclosing spit of sand.
that's where it was.
The area is ever changing. Sand is swept in with the rising tides. Over centuries, nature buries what it builds, and the sea claims all.
This old map shows the city limits to be more extensive than today's. Much of the seaside real estate here is eroded. This view is exactly the same as charted on that.
Don't expect that oceanfront property to last forever.
I
Eventually,
didn't think so.
it gets reclaimed by the ocean
Well,
sooner rather than later.
water destroys this kind of stuff. If you build it there, it's going to be destroyed by the water. And that's exactly what this whole story is about.
Very, very luxurious while it lasts, which isn't long. Not long.
Right. Construction of a lighthouse began on Pharos. Sostratus, they say, was the architect.
It became the seventh wonder of the world.
Built in 3 tiers of marble, it reached a height.
This was the last one built of these 7, I guess.
Building of ancient times. Though the structure was dedicated to Zeus, its purpose was to make light for ships. It functioned as a lighthouse until AD 641, some 900 years. Fuel was hauled up to a domed shelter where huge fires were kept burning day and night.
That's a lot of fuel.
The blaze of light they engendered was reflected by highly
a lot of
years of burnished bronze from the land.
That's a lot of work.
Light from the tower was a beacon to ships as far as 35 miles away.
This was indeed a wonder. Unlike the others, its purpose was not to glorify the gods or to buttress a flimsy notion of immortality with masonry. This wonder was a welcoming beacon to ordinary men, sailors and their skippers, the shipwrecked, and those lost at sea. To them, this lighthouse was simply Pharos, after the island.
Pharos, there she be!
Pharos, to guide them.
Perhaps the great lighthouse rose from the very spot where now the Sultan's fort squats so threateningly. But the fort is built of limestone blocks, and the lighthouse, say the records, was built of marble. Marble would be the only sound evidence that it was here. A 460-foot lighthouse would have to have been built of a reflective stone like marble to cast its light 35 miles out to sea. It's told that in the 14th century, the lighthouse toppled after several earthquakes.
You're following us, Uncle. The reflections of reflective light, the right materials to use. Marble.
Marble right there on top.
There it is. That must have been
there
it.
on top.
We found it.
There's a marble right there on top.
Got the lighthouse.
The edge is the marble.
The marble components appear to be
That's the thing.
not part of the original plan. Looking about carefully, we discover more marble on the floor, on the treads of the staircase. We even spot marble bits in the mosaics. It's evident that the great lighthouse, the Pharos, is not all being ground to a marble sand by the ebb and flow of the tides, but peaks in polished brilliance from the rough, dull stones of the Sultan's fort.
In many modern languages, the word Pharos means lighthouse. In French, they say phare. In Spanish, faro. Italian and English poets versify Pharos. And, not surprisingly, lighthouse is Pharos in Greek.
Reminds me of Pharaoh from Egypt. Lighthouse could be the Pharaoh was the lighthouse, was the body of the Pharaoh was the house of light.
That
right?
one I liked.
Is that what's going on too?
That one there I liked.
Did the people who lived out there...
Oh, you enjoyed the lighthouse.
The last one.
So you're way up on the list.
Was a water hauler at the Hanging Gardens tingling with pride at his watering a wonder of the world? Or was it just a job, endlessly repeated? What of guides at the pyramids? Do they think of themselves as spokesmen for a wonder of the world? Perhaps overfamiliarity makes even the world's marvels mundane. Did sailing past the Colossus of Rhodes raise the same kind of goose flesh that the Statue of Liberty raises on a returning voyager of today?
Except his hand wasn't straight.
Yes.
That's the difference.
Major difference.
That's a major difference. That was reading right
Big,
there.
big.
Man, hand wasn't
Changes
straight.
the entire dynamic.
Oh, yeah.
Has spoken to
That's
us,
what I thought.
and we've listened. It helps us to grasp the fact that the buildings and structures that we know, the great monuments so familiar to us, will one day be changed beyond our power to recognize them.
They're going to go away. Sorry to say. They're not always going to be there.
Not going to be there.
That's what they're saying, I believe. If I'm catching what they're saying.
It's beautiful.
Look at that.
It abounds in wonders, 700 times the 7 that we've sought. Nature's wonders.
And wonders created by human beings. Always seeking. Always reaching to an unknown beyond.
Space.
From these wonders, the seeker will gain a new vision of the world.
Yeah, okay, so that was it. We made it through, Uncle, the 7 wonders of the ancient world.
Aye.
I hope everybody enjoyed that. That was very informative,
That was
educational.
interesting, kind of way it ended.
You like the way they ended that one? Yeah, they made you think
Now
about
we're
it.
going to talk on top of the ratings. I
Yeah.
want to ask which ones do they like the best out of all of the 7?
Ah, yes. So in the
That's
chat,
what I wanted to know.
let us know what your favorite wonder of the ancient world is. And then I suppose you and I are each going to give our favorite one. Uncle.
Yeah,
What's-
yeah.
What's part of this? Okay, that's cool. I like that idea. I do have a card here, which I'm going to write our ratings on. So anybody who's there, we're going to do a rating 1 to 10 of this video, what we think of it. What year is this? Dad, I missed the year. Well, anyway.
It was
We'll-
pretty low. It
We'll
was,
rewind the tape. We will
I
rewind
think it was 19...
Did it say? Some of the footage was like from the 70s.
70s, I think. 1970s in some kind of way, I think it was.
It
In
looked
some
like
of
it.
them. In some of them.
It looked like that's what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna do the ring. So I have the card. Do we have a pen or a pencil? Oh, I do have a pen. Perfect. Pen. So we are going to write the rating. So anybody that's okay, it looks like we have it from Daz is giving the rating. Let's take a look.
You
and
give him a rating.
Let's see what
first.
Daz says. I need to look at this. Oh, we're gonna. Well, the rating for the video we're gonna do on a scale of 1 to 10. But in addition, please let us know what your favorite ancient wonder of the world is.
Well,
So
which
give
one
your
it
give your
was.
rating 1 to 10 on the video. Let's see here. Pyramid. Oh, you're okay. Daz is rating his favorites in order of the wonders of the world. Oh wow!
What's that?
So Daz's favorite wonders of the world are the pyramids,
Oh, the pyramids.
the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, the Colossus at Rhodes, the lighthouse at Pharaoh there, the Temple of Artemis, Temple of Zeus, and that mausoleum of the professional wrestler guy. That's his list. And he gives the video a 10 out of 10.
Oh, you went up. You went up on it.
Really enjoyed the video. Yeah.
No.
Okay. Ratings.
Oh, I'm surprised. He'd get 10-10. This is the guy I'm looking for, a 10-10. Still waiting. But that.
Oh, me.
Yeah, you.
Electric Daz.
10
out of 10.
Two.
I'm going to write a special note, pyramids. Love those pyramids. I know I love them. Okay. Okay, thank you, Daz, for that. Anybody else, if anybody else is here watching, please join the chat wherever you are, YouTube, Twitch. If you leave a comment on X, I'm going to look at that too and tell us what your rating for this video is. I'm looking at the live stream on X here. How are we doing on X? Looks like we're doing pretty good on X. But anyway, I suppose I will write, or I will give my sidekick, give my rating for this. I'm going to rate this video 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. Oh, it's not perfect video, but man, it was very informative. I love the esoteric, Masonic, religious, ancient mythology aspect of this. And there was a lot to
9 out of 10.
There's a lot to take in with that. I like that. I love that stuff. Yeah, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. I'm going to give my favorite wonder of the ancient world is going to be...
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Which one?
I'm going to say the Colossus of Rhodes.
Rhodes? What one was that?
That's my favorite one. I did enjoy going to Rhodes. I was at a couple of these places in the video. I'm lucky to have been to those, like I was saying before. Very cool.
Oh yeah,
Daz agrees with me. Yeah. Thank you, Daz. I knew you would. I knew that you would appreciate all that stuff too, man. It's very cool. Okay, so Uncle, I'm gonna give you.
As everybody else did.
So we've got Daz gave the video a 10 out of 10. His favorite wonder is the pyramids. I gave this a 9 out of 10. My favorite wonder of the world is Colossus of Rhodes. What do you rate this video, Uncle? What do you say?
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10? Okay. 8 out of 10, okay. So you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Okay.
And my number? The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7?
Well, which of those wonders of the world did you like the best?
7.
You liked the Lighthouse of Pharaoh?
Yeah.
The
Something in that got me looking at.
Okay.
The 7, the final one.
All right, yeah. If I understood the video, that was the last one that was built.
Right. It was the last one that's been built.
Right? Lighthouse.
Because that seemed interesting to me.
Okay. All right, cool. And if anybody else happens to be out there watching, please do let us know what your rating is. Not sure who might be joining us, but this was good. This is a good stream, Uncle. Let me see.
That went pretty far.
Eject the tape here.
It already rewound.
It's rewound. I ejected the
I know,
tape.
I heard it.
This is going to go back to the thrift store now. It was very enjoyable. Put it back in here. And I'm going to put our rating card in there, which hopefully survives to whoever gets it next. I'm not sure what the thrift employees do to these things when they get them, but I like to put a little piece of tape here so that it does hold our card in there. But I don't know what they do when they receive this as a donation, if they cut it open. Who knows? But it would be cool if somebody actually gets this tape again and sees the card, and it makes them wonder what the heck Uncle the Podcast is, right, Uncle? Wouldn't that be cool?
That was the reason. We got to get him a few more of those cards. Start ordering some more.
I might make some new cards, yeah.
Yeah, we got to. And can we add to it the Tic Tac on the card?
Yes.
I want to put that, add it to this.
Chuck had a really good idea on the show on Friday. He was suggesting we do a 2-sided card, and we do like a bunch of information, the website and whatnot on one side, and then on the other side card it just says like the TikTok and the YouTube.
I think we did it that way. Do it that way,
because those seem like they're the most important.
Then do it that way, because that way, in cover you turn it over and you got something else to look at besides a plain piece of paper.
I'm into it.
I like that idea.
Now, Uncle, what do we want to do? Do we want to keep the stream going? Do we want to end for the day? We made it through a whole video, and then we did that stream on TikTok before this. So
I think that's for today.
We're good, right?
Good for today, because I'm sort of getting hungry myself.
Yeah, we should probably go make lunch, and I guess we'll probably just end the stream here.
We'll end the stream, but for next week, if we do it, we'll get another ones.
Yeah. We'll try to do another live stream soon. It's been a long time since we've done one of these, so thank you everybody who ended up watching this. It's been so long since we've done this. It was fun to do it. Great stream, guys. Thank you, Daz. It's great to have you here. It's very cool.
I'm looking for my cat.
We got cats to deal with. Have a great week. You too, man. We'll see you.
See you.
Likewise, everybody else who's out there. We'll see you next time. Remember to listen to regular Uncle the Podcast on coming up on Friday.
It's a Friday coming up again.
So check that out. All right. Anything else you got, Uncle, before we go?
My number is climbing. And then that is what I was going to say. And, well, that's it for today. And hopefully everybody liked it. So, there you go.
We'll see you.
See you. Bye-bye. Hey.